What if I told you if these three things happen in 2024, Washington would probably be a surefire playoff team in the 2024 season? This is Rambling About Washington. I am Rio Robinson. Let's talk about it. What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? We are one day away from Washington's season opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. One more sleep left, and man, we've talked about and exhausted every single possible storyline for the 2024 Washington Commanders. So we might as well start talking about hypotheticals, right? We might as well start making stuff up. One of my favorite shows on the Disney Plus app, if you're a Marvel or comic book fan, is What If. What If is a show where they talk about alternate timelines across the multiverse, and if important moments were changed or if something drastically different happened. I'm talking more of a real life scenario, but what if these three things were to happen for the Washington Commanders? I got on my throwback gear. I got on the Color Rush jerseys that never were, the ones that never saw the light of day. I got my Josh Norman Color Rush Redskins jersey on. Throwback hat vibes today. One day before the first game, and so fucking hyped and ready to see Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn's football team get down to business. But I want to go into these three hypothetical what ifs and just how fruitful will Washington's chances in 2024 be if these things were to come true. And I'm not trying to make apples to oranges comparisons when it comes to some of these things. Don't take it too seriously when we get there, but let's get right to it. As you can see on the thumbnail, I got Jamin Davis fading into the dust and a picture of Hassan Reddick on the right. So let's get right to it. What if Jamin Davis has a career renaissance, an awakening now that he's a defensive end? What if under the tutelage of Joe Witt Jr., Sharif Floyd, Darryl Tapp, Jamin Davis is a bad-ass defensive end? What if he bulks up and gets busy? And dare I say, what if he can be Hassan Reddick light for our Washington Commanders? Let's talk about it. Hassan Reddick was drafted in the first round by the Arizona Cardinals. He had an edge rusher profile the way he played football, and he was coming on as a sack artist at Temple after lots of injuries that he did in college. But he was drafted and put as an off-ball backer. He had no success as an off-ball linebacker, as you can see in the very, very minimal impact and statistical production he had earlier in his career. Jamin has had success because he was drafted to be an off-ball backer. He was reached for. Most people didn't even have Jamin Davis as a first rounder, but we're not going to harp on Ron and company today because we're talking about the present and the future of the team. I'm going to leave the past in the past for right now. But Jamin Davis was drafted to be an off-ball backer. Hassan Reddick was drafted to be an off-ball backer. Why can't Jamin turn a new leaf with good mentorship, with good coaching? If he learns the technique of an edge rusher with 4.4 speed, can he be Hassan Reddick light? Why not? Why not Jamin Davis? And especially in an edge rush, pass rusher specifically guy. We don't need him in there mixing it up, trying to be a run stopper. I don't think Jamin Davis is ever going to be a run-stopping defensive end. But as a third down specialist, remember Ryan Kerrigan's latter years here where his snap count started to diminish and decrease over those years, and we pretty much only had him on the field on passing downs? What if in a pass rush specialist role, Jamin Davis could be Hassan Reddick light? He's not going for 15, 16, 17 sacks. He's not doing that. But what if he's the minimal role Hassan Reddick type productive player here? Alex said 6.5 sacks was his bold prediction on my group chat pod the other day. What if we could get a steady diet of 6 to 8 sack Jamin Davis in a diminished role So that's efficiency. So he's not even on the field nearly as much as he used to be as a middle linebacker, but still produces. What if Jamin Davis turns into that? What would that mean for the defense? What would that mean for the starters like Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, Dante Fowler Jr., who's listed as an outside linebacker, but will be a pass rush specialist for this team? What if they see this in Jamin Davis? What if they envision a steady increase in production and productivity from Jamin Davis? And what if that's the reason why they were so confident in letting KJ Henry test waivers and be picked up off of waivers by the Cincinnati Bengals? Jamin Speed Racer Davis, maybe he was always meant to be a pass rusher in the NFL. And nobody, not one of you in this fan base, would put it past Ron and company for drafting a guy to do the wrong things and not tapping in to the correct superpowers of the team. So my first what if for the season is, what if Jamin Davis finds himself as an edge rusher, a defensive end for this football team, and can be Hassan Reddick light? Not saying he's going to be Hassan Reddick. He's not going to get those many snaps as an edge rusher, at least this year for the Commanders. But what if? Number two, hypothetical what if situation. And this is the one I feel most confidently we can and probably will see in 2024, given good health. What if Zach Ertz has a what if Zach Ertz has a career turn back the clock fountain of youth season, a la Adrian Peterson when he was signed to Washington and gave us 1,042 yards a few years ago? What if Zach Ertz comes through and gives us 800 yards of production, 5 touchdowns this year, and is the number 2 pass catching option for the Commanders? I think we're going to see similar to that. I think Zach Ertz is your number 2 primary pass catching option for this team. Adrian Peterson came over to the Redskins with 2 short failed stints over in New Orleans and Arizona. They look nasty seeing him in those uniforms. I hate to see a GOAT go out like that. I always talk about it on the channel. I hate to see GOATs go out on another team like Montana on the Chiefs, Jerry Rice on the Seahawks and the Raiders, Allen Iverson on the Grizzlies. It's nasty. You hate to see your legends and your GOATs go out like that. Zach Ertz has had an illustrious NFL career as a tight end, won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. What if Zach Ertz goes back to prime Philadelphia Zach Ertz in Cliff Kingsbury's offense here in 2024 with a wide receiver room with a lot of question marks? And our last what if is going to be about one of them. What if Zach Ertz becomes exactly what he was in Philadelphia again at age 34, at his big age 34 season? What if he turns back the clock and gives us production similar to back in 2019 when he had 88 catches for 916 yards? Back in 2017, 74 catches, 824 yards, 78 catches, 810 yards. What if we get that type of production in a turn back the clock season for Zach Ertz? He played in this offense with Cliff Kingsbury there in Arizona, and his last full season as a starter, split between Philly and Arizona amidst the trade, he gave him 74 catches for 762 yards. Why can we not expect that here in DC for Zach Ertz this season? I'm telling you, man, he's going to be a much bigger contributor than most anticipate, especially those outside the building. Those here know they have a plan for Zach Ertz in this offense. Terry McLaurin is your number 1 pass catching option. There's not much conversation or discourse that needs to surround that statement. After that, it's a mixed bag of uncertainty. Olamide Zaccheaus is the next most contributing receiver in the room. Then a Noah Brown, he's contributed before in his career. We got Luke McCaffrey and Diami as the primary outside boundary receivers opposite Terry. Maybe one of them steps up, and we're going to talk about one of them in my final what if. But a security blanket and a run game are the two best friends of a quarterback. There's three things for a rookie quarterback, a young quarterback, wet behind the ears, green, and getting their first acclimation period to the speed of the NFL. There's three things you need to give a young quarterback for him to have a chance to thrive immediately and get right to the shits of production in the NFL. And those three things are: one, you got to protect your investment. You got to block for him. Number two, a run game, a balance. You're not throwing a 23-year-old out there and saying throw the ball 50 times a week. Eric Bieniemy, Milk Dud, Whopper, Junior Mint head ass motherfucker. But we're not talking about the past. I'm sorry, y'all. I go on tangents, but let's reel it back in. The third thing you need to give a young quarterback for him to prosper, thrive, and succeed early on in his career, some type of security blanket, a security valve, some type of option where when all else fails, fuck it, tight end, tight end, tight end. Dalton Schultz was getting busy with CJ Stroud last year. On and off the field, he was hard on CJ Stroud. He asked for the ball. I think Zach Ertz is going to be beautiful for Jaden Daniels. And if you haven't heard Zach Ertz speak about Jaden Daniels, he is the one that is vehemently stated on multiple occasions to the media, oh, no, this guy is good now. I know you talk about young quarterbacks and you say potential, how good he's going to be. Zach Ertz looked right in the camera when being interviewed by Chick Hernandez and said, oh, no, he's good now. He's good right now. He's ready to get after it. He's ready to be him. And I think the rapport and relationship between Jaden and Zach on the field, from the people I know, like Lake Lewis and company that have watched a majority of the practices this summer, they said, y'all are going to be surprised at how much Zach Ertz is going to get the ball. And I said, not me, but I do think most people are going to be surprised at how large a role 34-year-old tight end Zach Ertz will play here for the Commanders. And my turn back the clock example for him was when AP came here and he's dusting off 90-yard, 80-yard, 70-yard touchdowns at his big running back age. The exact in the swan song years of Adrian Peterson's Hall of Fame career, he came here, he took a pit stop in DC and became our bell cow running back. Can Zach Ertz do the same thing with our tight end room and be the perfect mentor, the perfect teacher to Ben Sinnott? You couldn't have asked for a better situation going into the season at the tight end position. And you never can forget about John Bates, who's probably the most balanced tight end in that room. So my second what if is, what if Zach Ertz has a turn back the clock, fountain of youth, AP in DC style season in 2024? I think this one was the most probable of my three, and we move on to the final what if. And I know exactly what y'all are going to say when we get to this. What if Diami Brown actually is good? What if he finally gets it? What if he has reached the point of his career where accountability and self-awareness and just busting his ass in the offseason finally all comes together and culminates in a starting high-end number 2 receiver? So what if Diami Brown and the off-season video saga finally turns into a starting quality receiver in this league? We drafted him a few years ago. We drafted him as a take the top off the defense, vertical threat, absolute baller. He came into the league unrefined with a limited route tree that he ran at UNC. And he has had multiple good summers here in DC. He started a YouTube channel. He took us along on his journey, which is very vulnerable of an NFL player to do. You can say it's clout chasing. You can say it's attention seeking, but I think it's vulnerable for guys to take you with them along their journey. But for some reason, whether that's lack of opportunities, whether that's not relishing in the moment, whether that's not having a complete enough route tree, Diami has not been able to crack 200 yards in a season yet for the Washington Commanders. We had a revolving door at quarterback, correct. We had a nasty couple of offensive coordinators in this building, but at the same time, you can ask Diami himself. He has not been what was cut out to be when we drafted him since he's gotten here in DC. Well, new ownership, new front office, new coaching staff, and a real fucking quarterback have now presented themselves in the chat for the Washington Commander. So there are no more excuses left for number 2, Diami Brown, Deuce. No more excuses. And I think he knows. I don't know if you guys watched Diami Brown's documentary on his channel. If not, definitely take a look at it. It was well produced. Shout out to Jack Gillen and his squad over there. You can tell Diami shelled out some coin in making this documentary. It showed his off-season workouts, but it also showed where he was mentally, self-awareness wise. He's taking accountability. I know I haven't been good enough. Watch that and see a guy who knows he hasn't been it, but he wants to, and he knows the time is now or never. Diami got a ball out this year for one, a contract, because this is his final year and he doesn't have the luxury of a 5th-year option like first-round picks do. And it may be curtains in the league if he shows us nothing this year. It may be the UFL. He may be an XFL boy. The DC Defenders may be in his near future if he shows nothing this year. But he came out. He's one of the contributors that got Jahan Dotson the fuck off this roster. 0 catches, 0 yards. The double donut bandit is back if you watched the Eagles versus Packers game last night. But back on topic, Diami Brown has no excuses anymore. So what if Diami, the light goes off in his head and he goes crazy in 2024, but not in a way that you just say, oh, he's just doing this for the contract, in a way where Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn say, no, this guy is needed in this room. We need what he brings going forward. And Jaden Daniels' development requires this guy for the short to long term of this franchise. What if Diami gets in his bag and can run more than a stop route and a go route in a deep post? What if the hard work with Hakeem Nicks, who was a very detailed receiver for New York back in the day, another UNC Tar Heel, what if that work pays off and Diami turned a new leaf in 2024? I'm just asking the question. So, to put this video in summary, what if Jamin Davis is a good defensive end, Zach Ertz is a good tight end, and Diami Brown turns out to be a starting caliber receiver? I'm not saying separately. Let's say all 3 of those things happen in 2024 for the Commanders. Wouldn't that significantly boost our chances of winning this season and having a chance to make the playoffs? Dare I say, a playoff spot may have just vanished and appeared for everyone else in the NFC. Jordan Love looked to have sustained a serious injury in Green Bay last night in that Brazil game versus the Eagles on the penultimate play of the game. There may be an open playoff spot. I know teams like the Chicago Bears in that division, they are now salivating at the opportunity of sneaking into the playoffs because Green Bay is not making the playoffs without Jordan Love. Point blank, period. No discussions need to be had there. And I know they're well coached by Matt LaFleur. But if we could get these 3 things, Zach Ertz turning back the clock, Diami looking like a starting caliber wide receiver 2, and Jamin Davis being Hassan Reddick light-ish, great value Hassan Reddick in a pass rushing situation here in DC, I think Washington is staring a potential, shall I say, 9-10 win season in the face. Those are some very bold hypotheticals, but if you put all 3 of those things together, it spells nothing but an advantageous situation for the Commanders here in 24. That's all I got for right now. If you're hearing this video right now, Washington is probably in the team hotel. They're getting their mind right, and they know we're 24 hours and some change away from playing our season opener versus Tampa. Tonight, I'll be going live on the channel. One more live stream before the all-day watch party stream that happens tomorrow. Come through and air out everything you're feeling one night before we get our last sleep in before Washington's opener tomorrow at Tampa Bay. But that's going to do for right now in my mustard horseradish as Color Rush Redskins jersey and hat. That's all I got. Hell to the Washington Commanders. Until next time,